All right, so the goal of this video is just to go over the basics of the print statement. This should be a relatively quick video, but let's go ahead and dive into it. So I'm going to define a variable, my var. Let's go ahead and make that equal to 2. All right, and I'm going to look at, in particular, the print statement. So we can see as soon as I type print, we get this boldface screen. This is Jupyter Lab essentially indicating to me that Python, this is a reserved name in Python. It turns out is actually a function. So we can open that parenthesis. I'm going to hold down Shift and Tab, and we get the doc string. There's actually quite a few things you can do with a print statement. So first off, it takes a number of arguments. That's what that's telling us. And there's going to be a separator argument and an end argument. You can actually provide a file if you wanted to write this out. And then if you can flush this. So there will be essentially writing a stream, and you can flush that stream. I'm going to say these two variables, these are going to be these two arguments, it's going to be very, very special use cases where you would use it. Most of the time when you're working with strings, you're going to at most be working with these first three. So you're going to be passing in arguments. You can optionally give it a separator, and you can give it an ending character. All right, so the most basic usage of print is just you pass in a variable and it prints that variable. All right, but you can, as we saw when we looked at print, again, I'm just going to get inside that first parenthesis, hold down Shift and Tab. It's showing right here these args, and it's got that little asterisk there. That means you can pass in multiple arguments, okay? So let's actually look at that. So I'm going to say now my var 1 is equal to hello, and then my var 2 is equal to world. All right, so I've got two variables, and what we can do is we can pass them both in. So I can say my var 1, and I can pass in my var 2, both as different arguments, and it's going to print both of them together. And notice that it separated them with a space. Okay, well, why did it do that? So let's go back and let's put in print, and I held down Shift and hit Tab. It's because we have this separator argument. So that's what's going on. If you pass in multiple arguments to the print function and you have separator, it's going to separate those arguments by whatever that value is for that argument. Well, what if we wanted to change that? What if we wanted to make them, separated by hyphens? Well, I'm going to take that same list of arguments, my var 1, my var 2, and now I'm going to pass in that separator. All right, and I'm going to pass in a hyphen as my argument. Now when I print that, we've changed that separator. So instead of it being a space by default, it's going to be a hyphen. All right, so when I'm hitting that Shift Tab, if we see an argument, it has this equals at the end of it. Okay, that's saying that's going to be the default value if you don't explicitly provide something. So by default, it's doing a single space, and this ending argument is this hyphen in. All right, so let's look at that end argument. So what if I did print my var 1, and then I use another print statement to do my var 2. So it could be that you've got a program that's running through a loop and you're printing out these variables. What it's going to do is it's printing those on different lines. Why is it doing that? Well, if I look again, hold down Shift and Tab, it's because of this ending argument. So whenever you execute that print statement, it's going to look at all the arguments that you passed in, and at the end of that, it's going to be printing out a new line character. That's what \n is. Okay, so that's a new line. Well, what if we wanted these things to be on the same line? All right, well, what we could do is we could maybe change that ending character to nothing. All right, so it's just an empty string, an open and close single quotation mark. So in this case, it prints them all together, right? We could make that a space, and we'd essentially get the same string that we had before up here when we had that sep parameter just equal to that space. So that's how those parameters are working. So again, print statement, you can pass it in, several arguments. You can use this separator to kind of handle what happens between arguments that are passed into the same print statement. And then you can use this end argument to handle what happens in between consecutive print statements. All right, so this one, keeping this video super quick, so that's just the basics of the print statement.